Ring the Bling family, we are so excited today. We know you loved her last time. We have Maggie Heely, the owner of Weekend Wedding Warrior, back with us today.
Whoop, whoop.
I have so much respect for Maggie. I have followed her and what she's done. Total respect for her business that she's built and the wedding planner that she is to engage couples here in the local area. We are going to talk today about something that Maggie and I both feel pretty passionate about.
Gosh, Mike, we didn't even get a mention in there.
And it's how to be a good wedding guest.
Yes.
Yes.
Are we talking etiquette?
Etiquette.
The hidden and not hidden rules of attending a wedding.
Welcome, Maggie.
Hi.
Yes,
Thanks, guys.
welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
I cannot wait to hear all this.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited.
I'm just going to get my coffee. I'm going to sit back and listen.
Take some notes, girl.
Are you saying that I'm a bad guest?
I don't know.
I think she's saying buckle up.
Oh,
yeah.
Mike,
That's what I
here
say.
we go. All
Buckle
right.
Buckle up.
Let's
because-
just,
Tough love time.
can we hop right in? Because I cannot wait to hear this. And I know we did a previous episode on this a while back, but I feel like
This is going to be even better.
not even so much that, but I don't know that you could talk enough about this.
Sure.
And for me, guest etiquette could be wedding party, family, and friends. So if you're an engaged couple, feel free to share this episode
Yeah.
with anyone or someone that you really feel needs to hear this. Sharon, where in the world are you starting with this topic?
I think I'm going to let Maggie start.
Oh man. Well, it's funny because I was thinking about like what I was going to talk about today, and I knew that this is what our discussion was going to be about, and I even put it on my Instagram account.
I saw that.
Yeah, and said like, okay, guys, like we're going to record this podcast. Like, what questions do you have? And the one question I got repeatedly, so I'm thinking good place to start, is what do you do about who if you get an invitation, who comes with you? Do you get a +1? Do you not get a +1? How do you know? So that's something that people want to know. To me, I'm like, oh, how do people not know this? But of
Right.
course, this is what I do every weekend, right? Like,
Sharon, you mean people don't just automatically know what you all do?
yeah, no, apparently not. But the big thing that they really spell it out for you. The couple is going to spell out for you if you get a +1 or not. It will say it on your envelope, on your invitation envelope. When you get that in the mail, it'll say to you or to you and guest.
Maggie, this is
yeah.
a double one though.
Yeah.
This is good information for couples
Couples
that are
doing
planning.
their invitation.
Sure.
Especially if they don't have a planner to help them with
Sure.
this.
I get
I
asked
didn't
those
even think
questions
about
all
that.
the time.
Right, like how do I do
How
this?
do I say
do I
this?
have to
Yeah.
have a +1? Do I
Right.
have, like, because couples are trying to figure out how many guests they're going to have, right? So they're trying to figure out, well, if everyone brings a date, do I have enough room for everyone? Do I have enough money for everyone, right? So there's different ways, different reasons people pick what they pick.
So the engaged couples can help control that by how they fill out their invite.
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
Well, you would think that if you got an invitation and it said Michael, Gaddy, and guest,
Are you
that
assuming
is
it in?
two,
Mhm.
you would I would
Yeah.
automatically think me and one person.
Right.
If it just came to you,
If it just
would
came
you
to me.
think,
But what if it just said Michael Gaddy?
It would just be me.
Correct.
Yes.
well, I'm so sorry guys. I would have thought if I was going to a wedding, I'm being honest that I'm not going to go by myself. I'm going to bring somebody with me. So I'm glad we're talking about this because
Yeah, because
Guest
not
count.
necessarily. I mean, I do think it's kind if the couple can fit it in their budget and fit the guest count in. I do think it's kind to have a guest for everyone there because it is hard to go to a wedding by yourself. You know, that's a little, unless it's a wedding, that's a family or whatever. But the other thing that you have control over then is the whole, like, do I bring my kids situation? So does your invitation say, for example, for me and my husband, Mr. and Mrs. Eric Heely? Does it say the Heely family? Does it say...
And children.
Right, Mr. and Mrs. Eric Heely, Rory and Knox Heely, those are my kids' names. Like what does it say? So we got an invitation for a family event recently and it said the Heely family. So we knew kids were invited. Then my cousin's getting married and we got the invitation, it said just my husband and I. Okay, kids are not invited, right? So it's like gives me a very clear understanding just by that invitation. And the save the date is the same. So
I
you're
had
doing your
not
save
even
the
thought
date.
of that.
Well, and I think one of the things too, Mike actually just called me like
I
last week. he has a friend getting married, and they do not want kids there. They
Yeah.
feel strongly about
Yeah.
it. But he called me because they didn't know how to say it on their
How to word
invitation.
it.
Got it.
I hadn't thought about it by
What-
saying family. That's
What I usually recommend
Yeah.
is, hey, enjoy enjoy an adults only evening, or enjoy a date night on us. We respectfully ask that children remain at home.
But do you put that on the invitation, or you put that on the website, or like where do you put that?
I put it both.
Everywhere. Okay. Got it.
To make it very clear.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to add is, don't get your feelings hurt.
Yes. Okay. I'm so glad that I got
Oh my
super
gosh.
because that's exactly the issue that I find is that people are like, but now so and so is not coming because they can't bring their kids. It's so annoying. And you're like, no. You set your boundaries.
Mhm.
Great. You're allowed to do that. Then they set their boundaries back, and we should all just respect
I
all
have a
that.
bride right
Yeah.
now, that her sister says she's not going to come because her kids can't come. And her sister was in the bridal party. So like it's really, really hard, but
That's
I think
sticky.
one thing that people don't look at is, I know for me, the average wedding of mine is probably between $65 and $75 a head. When you look at the total cost of the wedding.
Sure.
So you start adding that 200-300 people, somewhere there has to be a cutoff.
Yeah.
Or maybe that couple just wants an adult-only evening, and
Right.
that's okay. They have the right to do that.
Well, Sharon, you've mentioned this before. It's their day. It's the couple's
Right.
day. And if that's their wishes, like, let them have their day. If you don't want to go, like you said, boundaries, okay, they're not coming, and everybody's okay. We
Yeah.
move on, and wow, I'll be honest with you. I guess I hadn't really thought about it,
Yeah.
but that is so important, especially when you're talking about guest count. Because people do have big families,
Right.
and if you're limited to the number of people you can have there,
Oh yeah.
and you've got close friends and they're not married, you have to trim or cut it off somewhere. Gosh, that's so
Another
important. That's a
thing-
good
Yeah.
topic.
Sorry. Go ahead.
If it works in your budget and it's something you're willing to do, especially for your out-of-town guests, if you can provide childcare, that's a really nice option. I know I've got a client getting married this summer. We're going to provide childcare. One of the places I recommend doing that is a lot of church high school youth groups. We'll do that, and if the couple will make a donation. I have the childcare for my wedding this summer. They're planning a mission trip, so they wanted a donation toward their mission trip. So we've rented a very nice room at the hotel.
Yeah.
We're going to have 4 teenage girls come in. We're going to
Pizzas.
pizzas,
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
all the things.
Yeah. Kids
What
are-
an interesting twist. I hadn't even thought
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
If that's in your budget, it's
Right.
something you want to do.
And if
but
you have
you're
that
not
many people coming into that,
Yes.
because I know, like, for my
out-of-town guests is where it's really hard.
yeah, because I've been married now 15 years, and I remember my husband and I, we did not have kids at our wedding. We were really adamant about it. And I
Yes.
remember one of my aunts who had younger children at the time was like, well, what am I supposed to, like, the whole family is coming to this wedding.
Mhm.
What am I supposed to do with my kids, and it was this,
It's
it was
hard.
a big deal, and now that I have young children, and I have cousins getting married out of town, I get it.
Right.
But I'm also okay going without my husband, which not
Yeah.
everybody, right, like, I'm okay being like, my husband's got the kids at home, I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
a family wedding.
And your husband's probably okay with it
He's
too.
totally fine. He's like, cool, yeah, I'm good.
Well, I had a cousin that sent out invitations, and it said, to my wife's sister, it said, Trish and guest. Well, at the time, she had just got married, and my cousin were not close, so they kind of like didn't know his name.
Mm-hmm.
So they assumed that they were going to bring
The
her husband.
the new husband.
Well, when she RSVP'd, she RSVP'd her and her daughter, which her daughter was like 14.
Oh.
2 days before the wedding, my cousin called Trish and said, I'm sorry, we don't have enough seats for your daughter.
Oh, that's a no.
And
There's a lot of no's.
so I just want to let you know that we're not accepting kids, but that was never put in
I was
the
gonna say that has
invitation
to
at
be
all.
very clear. Adult
Well,
reception.
that has been a disaster since then because Trish didn't end up going at all,
Oh,
and now
no.
they don't have a relationship over that,
Oh,
which
my
I think the
goodness.
whole thing all the way around was not handled correctly.
No, it is so interesting though. I think there's this weird oh, I went to your wedding. Did you go to my wedding? Like there's this
Mhm.
weird back and forth that happens. It's like getting points or something,
I just
right?
think it's so silly.
And people
that-
get really offended, which I get that you want people there, but make sure you want people there because you want them there, not because it's going to offend you if they're not there.
Sharon,
That's the
you've
only
said
reason.
that.
Yeah.
Sharon, you've said that before. Who do you want to be there to
Right.
share that special day? Not because they're best friend, or not because they're friends with mom or dad, or
Right.
they've worked together for 30 years. And Sharon, I'm not saying you said this word for word. I'm ad-libbing, but it's back to the couple. It's
Right.
their day, and you've said that you've got to
You know,
really
Maggie
make
and I
that
were just talking before we started recording, and the best way I can think to communicate it is sometimes a couple just has to pull themselves from all the noise. I just did this with a couple recently, like pull yourself from all the noise and all the people in your ear and look at what you want, the two of you want. If you have a wedding planner, that's great. Let her come alongside you and advocate for that. But even if you don't, just tell everybody to just shh. And you're gonna look at what you want, and that's what you're going to do. And it makes me sad, like when I hear stories that Mike just shared, that a family is still affected
Right.
over this one thing on a wedding invitation. You know, honestly, and I don't even know that part of your family, but shame on them. Like,
I agree.
yeah, it's silly.
Yeah. Again, I think it comes down to like respecting people's wishes and boundaries, right? Because if that's going to be your, like, you have to set your boundaries in advance, clearly state it, right? Reception, like
Right.
adult only reception, and then, you know,
But on
if
that
people
same,
can't go, then you have to be cool with that too.
yeah, but
And don't be scared of your decision. Don't
Right.
don't feel embarrassed by it or bad about
Stand
it.
by it.
Yes.
Stand by it, and then but be cool if cousin so and so can't come because she's got little kids.
Say, I understand.
and like
Yeah.
that was you made that decision. You got to be cool with that too.
Right.
You can't
Own
be
it.
like, oh, well, they need to find a babysitter. They need to blah blah blah.
No.
Well, they don't really need to. They get to
Right.
come.
But
if they
on the
want.
other hand, too, if we're talking about sending out cards and people RSVPing and that kind of thing, and if you RSVP and don't come, that pisses me off too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh well.
I mean, and,
That's a
and-
respect
and-
issue.
That's just
There's
a
some-
respect.
I
Like
heard
Sharon
someone
just-
say like send an invoice. You should send an invoice to them after
Exactly.
for the
100%.
I mean,
for
if
the
something
75
literally
person
happens
each.
that you cannot be there, things happen
I mean,
like
people get
all the
sick,
time.
especially during COVID. We've been seeing like
Yeah.
drop off the week of because someone's got the sniffles. They don't want to come and
That's
scare
understandable.
people.
That's
That's
understandable.
understandable. But when people just like no show,
Communicate it as soon as possible.
correct.
Sharon, you've talked about this somewhere along the line. I feel like Mike or maybe you're not just talking about one plate of food. You're talking about possibly dishes, glasses, decor, linens.
Right.
I've lost chairs, table.
Oh gosh, when
It's a lot.
It
or like
is-
when a family of 4 doesn't come, for example, it's like half of a table is gone, or you could have consolidated, and yeah, how much
You've
does a
taken
table
down.
cost?
Didn't I
Sharon,
hear you
know
say something
about
about moving? Like where?
I've moved seats and pulled place settings
Yeah.
before.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. So it's just a respect issue. Gosh, this has been. You started out with a biggie, but I feel like you all provided not only etiquette, but you also provided education
Right.
for the
I think it's
couple.
something we feel pretty strongly
Yeah,
about.
we do.
Well, it affects a lot.
It does affect a lot, and I think guests don't always understand how much it affects and how much it affects the couple.
They don't.
And the couple loses sleep over this kind of stuff. So like, just communicate, be respectful, and communicate. That's
Wait, are we talking about
it.
communication again?
Oh, James.
It comes up in
And
every
boundaries.
episode.
How come I always am talking about boundaries?
Well, as we talk about, just something that popped into my mind as we talk about, what all it affects. It affects, seating and all that. Another thing to keep you from being a donkey as a wedding guest is
A donkey guest?
a donkey guest. If there's a
DG.
seating chart, don't change your seat.
Oh my god, don't even. Yeah.
Wait,
Gross.
people come and don't
Yes.
follow the seating chart?
Yes.
Oh, they like come up, they see where they're seated, then they pull their. I don't see it that often. I'm thankful. I have pretty people are pretty respectful. At least, or maybe they're doing it.
Well, I've
It
seen
does
it.
happen,
But
though.
it happens. Oh
Like
yeah.
Aunt Sally comes in and she'd rather sit by Aunt Betty
Right.
than Aunt Mary or whatever, so
Right.
she just moves her seat. So if you have a plated meal, you're gonna get the wrong food, and
Yeah.
somebody else is gonna get the wrong food
Yeah.
because I've already turned all that
It's a
into
domino.
the cater.
Domino.
Yes, and plus,
I'm getting taken to the school today, Mike, because I didn't
No,
know that went
I-
on.
I helped Bobby do a wedding one
Mhm.
year, and he actually planned it and everything, but I stood at the door. They didn't have a seating chart, they didn't do that. I don't even know if this was legit to even do. But I stood almost like a wedding
bouncer?
Yeah,
you're a
at the
bouncer.
door, and I said, okay, you're at table number 1.
Yep.
When you check in, I told you what table to go to.
Yeah.
people came up to me after they got their seat. Well, I don't want to sit with her. Do you mind if I go over to table
Yes,
5?
I
Yes,
mind.
I do mind.
You may not.
And
What'd you
it,
say?
It was a disaster.
Mike said,
Hey, I was young, man. I was
sure.
like, sure, do whatever you
Well,
want
and
to.
even
Dang it, wrong answer.
Mike did not hold boundaries.
Even if
But I know now. That's
even
no.
if it's not a plated meal, be respectful.
Well, there's maybe a reason.
The hostess
Why-
put you there for a reason.
Yes. Yes.
Make a friend.
It's not your
Sit down
event.
and make a friend.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Wow.
yeah, I think that that's really important. And then like if there's something that is wrong, every once in a while, right? Like the couple's done their seating chart, they're stressed out, right? And something's a little off with it. Maybe like I had recently at the last wedding I did where this woman came up to me. She's like, "Hi, I'm at table 29, and my husband's assigned to table 30. Do you think,
Oh,
do you
yeah,
think
that's
that's
a
right?" And I was like, "You know, probably not. Let me see." And I was
Right.
able to quickly look. So the point is, if something seems off to you, don't tell the bride. Don't tell the mother. Don't tell anybody. Look for somebody with a clipboard.
For sure.
And come up to the clipboard lady, which
Right.
is me, or the caterer, and say, "Hey, is this okay?" Because she was like, "It's okay. We can sit at different
And that-
tables.
yeah,
It's
she
fine."
handled it
And I was
perfectly.
like, yeah, she handled it so beautifully, and she was
Yeah.
so sweet
She
about
had
it.
guest etiquette.
She had such sweet little guest etiquette, and that made me go, "Oh, of
I
course,
wanna help
no
you."
problem. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm going to take care of that." And I quickly pulled my assistant, and I pulled the catering manager. I said, "We need to take it, place setting away from 30, put it at 29. We've only got an 8 top at 29. We can squeeze 9. We're good."
And I think sometimes people don't realize what all has gone into making that seating chart. I mean, to me, they're a booger. And especially like if you,
Stop with the swearing.
especially like if you have.
Sharon's being on her good behavior.
I'm trying really hard, but especially if you have like divorced parents. Like I've had couples tell me, you literally have to put my mom on this side of the room, and you have to put my dad on this side of the room, and this person kind of buffers my mom
Sure.
and mediates. So put her next to my mom. So
A lot of thoughts.
if we've done all that,
Yeah.
don't switch it. Just
Yeah.
like it's 20 minutes. Eat your dinner.
Again,
Yeah.
be respectful.
Well,
Yes.
I think out of all the brides I talked to, and I just went through this last night, got a wedding coming up April 30th at Hazelnut Farms, and they're freaking out over the table sitting chart. And almost
It
all
stresses brides
brides,
more
it stresses
than
It
just
does.
that.
out.
Yeah, it is.
And they goes, well, it's going to be done by this weekend. I said, don't make any plans and don't put that in ink because you got 4 weeks left.
Yeah, that's a
You-
long
that's
RSVP
that's
window
gonna,
there.
that's going to change a lot.
I
And she
usually
says, nope,
2
it's not
weeks
going to
out is
change.
when I usually ask for them. And that's something that even if you have a wedding planner, and I don't know how Maggie feels, I can give you input and I can kind of guide you how to create it. But a wedding planner really can't do your
No,
seating
thank
chart.
you for saying that because I one time said like a couple times I've had clients ask like, "Can you just do this for me?"
Oh, I've had them ask
I'm like,
too.
I don't know who so is.
I don't know who talks to who.
Yeah, it's like that is very
Or
much
where there may be a problem.
what all the
Yeah.
dynamics are in the
Yes.
family and
Listen at her, the
friends, so-
dynamics. That's the
Yeah.
good word.
So how important do you think the seating chart is?
I mean, I love
I
love a
think
good
they're
table assignment or
Sharon's
escort
over here
card,
twitching that
seating
you asked that
chart.
question.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
people ask that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, some
She's
people say,
like-
oh, let's not do a seating chart.
Well, okay,
but I
so
think it's important.
I think you feel, as a guest, right, this is a pro guest moment, I think you feel cared for the less you have to, think or be worried about something. And sometimes there's that moment of, where do I sit? Who do I sit with? Are there enough seats? Ugh, you know what I mean? And so it just takes one less step out.
Come
Good
in,
point.
this
Good
is where
Yeah.
we're going.
And then also, if you don't have a seating chart, you need extra seats because your people don't divide perfectly by 8, right? So this
They'll be
family
pulling
of 3,
chairs from.
oh, talk about pulling. So you better have a whole extra table, which is an extra linen, extra this, extra that.
Yeah, I agree.
Sharon knows.
So I know you've got lots on your list.
Oh yeah, we're in my list. Okay, so the other thing is if you have a question about what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to wear, go to the website. So there's almost always, I don't have a couple anymore who doesn't have a wedding website.
Agreed. Yeah.
And so the wedding website, and then for couples, this is your education, right? Like always list on there, is there a dress code, right? Is it black tie? Is it black tie optional? Is it not? Is it dress casual, smart? I don't know what the words are for all these different things, but you know what I mean? Like put that dress code on there, put if there's room blocks somewhere, right? So you're gonna look for those things. And I'm a rule follower, just like as a human, but I really like it when the wedding guests follow the rules. When they go
Yes.
rogue and they don't go to the hotel block, for example, go rogue.
Right.
Like, you know,
Oh no, I'm over here because
you're going rogue.
nope, you all are golds, right, Sharon?
Oh,
Me and Mike are over here. We're gonna just keep our mouth shut.
yeah.
We had our colors done.
Oh, okay. I know. I want my color. But like there's probably a reason that hotel block was picked at that hotel. Maybe there's transportation that's being provided from there. Maybe the welcome dinner is there. There's some other reason they want you to stay there. So don't be like the person who's like, I'm just gonna go Airbnb or I'm gonna stay across town.
Well, I have a hotel here in town that I do a lot of room blocks with. And I had a guest call me the other day. I don't even know where she got my number.
Impressive. That guest really was just some research.
And she said, I used the link for the room block.
And it wasn't working.
But I got online and there's a cheaper price. Okay, what she doesn't know is I built into the fee for that room that she has a private brunch the next morning with the couple included in her room fee.
So if she books her own, she doesn't get the brunch.
Right.
Or like messes up.
She'll pay for it,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
And she's left off of that thing that she would want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So I think just use the room block link.
Yeah.
It was literally $12 difference.
Okay.
She's going to get a beautiful breakfast. So is her husband for $12, $6 each. Like, so
Follow the rules.
the rules, man.
Wear what you're supposed to wear. Do what you're supposed to do. Okay, I have to. My cousin Evan, there's no way he's gonna listen to this, so I can't. He's got this
What'd you glance at the camera for?
Just in case.
There's no way. He doesn't answer texts. He's not listening. But his wedding's coming up, and he made. I got a rip on him. It was actually really cute. He put the dress code. It was black tie optional as the dress code, and he put a Pinterest board, an example
God love his
of
heart.
clothes that you could wear for his wedding.
I think Mike would do something like that.
That's such a Mike thing.
That is such a Mike.
But you know what? I think that's a good idea.
I mean, and then my other cousin ended up buying a dress off of the Pinterest board because she liked it so much. I was like, all right, that all worked out, you know?
Awesome.
You know, literally, I've seen that put on websites, like cocktail attire or semi-formal, and I've gotten emails saying, what does that mean?
Sure.
Google.
Google it. We both Google it.
Google it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, people need to feel empowered that you're not that dumb. Like, you can figure this out.
Right.
You know what though?
Right, I agree.
We as wedding
She said you are not.
I
Listeners,
believe
you
in
are not that dumb.
You're not-
You can figure it
I
out.
believe
You
in
can. I'm just here to try to empower you.
But really, I mean, we're wedding professionals. We do this every day.
Sure.
And you would be surprised what human being in this United States or anywhere in the world has no clue what's going on when it comes to a wedding.
Sharon's over
And
there holding her
you've
breath.
got to play stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
She's over there holding her breath. She don't know what you're going to say.
He makes me nervous.
No, I'm being serious. I mean, you have
No, you're totally
some
right.
people.
And a big part of our job is to be patient and to educate people.
Right.
Because just
Some
because we do
people-
it every weekend doesn't mean they do. And I think that
Some
makes
people
it,
don't
and that's
have
why the
common
more
sense.
information, just full loop, the more information you put on your website, the more helpful it is.
Well, and
to
I've
your
even
guests.
had brides ask me,
Mhm.
this is what I don't want to see people wear at my wedding. So what's my dress code?
Right.
This is what I don't want
Yeah,
to
I
see.
don't want people in jeans. So
Yeah.
what should I put?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're in a farming community
Sure. Yes. I think where's your wedding? is
and
separate.
this bride is one of the biggest high school queens and all this all through her growing up years, and she's having this lavish wedding, but you're used to being around cattle farms and pig farms and that kind of thing. No, listen to me.
I'm listening.
They
for it.
have no clue. What do you mean black tie?
Well, but there's
Or-
also like my husband was raised in a community like that, and there's like your nice jeans, right?
Right.
There's your wedding.
Your dress jeans.
You got your dress jeans, and
My husband
They only
would-
get
And
pulled out
honestly,
for special
their dress
occasions.
jeans, their cowboy boots. My husband was cowboy in California, and your cowboy hat probably costs more than my
My husband
Yeah,
would say
exactly.
Yeah.
church jeans.
Exactly.
My husband would say church jeans.
church jeans. There you go. That's the word for
So,
it. Yeah.
Side note, they had 300-acre plus farm, but my grandpa really had jeans that my grandma pressed. They were only pulled out for very special
Sure, yeah.
occasions. And to
Right.
wear a dress shirt
Mhm.
with those jeans, you had to have been going to something like really nice.
Mhm.
And you're right. You have to take this for what type of event you're having,
Yeah.
where you're located. Now, if you're having, and I'm going to say this, and you all can change the wording how you want, but you're having an outdoor event in midsummer, I would like to hope if you're having the rustic barn wedding, Sharon's gonna start twitching again. I would hope maybe you would think about your guest and what you're asking of them to wear.
Sure.
You know, it's probably going to be very hot,
Yes.
and you all
Don't
can add to
expect-
that.
Don't expect stilettos if you're gonna walk in the grass on and then gravel.
Yes. Well, and that's another great like segue to guest etiquette. You again, Google is so amazing. You can look up where the reception's going to be,
Right.
and you can see, does it look like it's inside? Does it look like it's outside? Does it look like it's on grass? Does it look like it's air conditioned or not? And then you can kind of plan your wedges versus your stilettos appropriately. Please do not email the bride.
Do not.
Oh my God.
The bride.
Back to the website though, like
Yeah.
you said, and Sharon, I know you've also talked about this, like provide your guests the information. That way they don't
Right.
not bother you, but you're helping them.
Well,
like,
and
not
especially-
everybody has common sense
Well,
when
and
it comes to that kind
If
of
people
stuff.
are traveling in too, or even not, it's
They're
like,
not from here.
the
They
more
don't know what it is
information.
like.
I'm a big believer in like there's more information the better, right? It's like I've never had too much signage at a wedding. It's just
No.
like the more you can tell people
Over-inform.
what's going on, the more comfortable they
Are they that
feel.
similar? I
Yep.
said, are
We'll
they
just-
that similar?
We're just taking over.
Because
This is the
it
Sharon
is-
and Maggie show.
Go ahead. You all go ahead. We'll be back here.
But you know, back to the websites.
Yeah.
Is that are those websites? I really didn't know that there was a website for every wedding. To be honest with you, I didn't. I did not. So is that the new thing that every bride and groom or couple has?
It has
Most of my
been
couples
Yeah.
not only have a website, but we offer the option to RSVP on the website.
See, I did not know.
And the
that.
registry information is
know
I
on
have
there.
more. I think my
Yes.
couples tend to be like really traditional, so we haven't gotten there. With
We
the
offer
online
both. We
RSVPs,
send out the
but
cards.
there's always a website.
Because I started noticing my really younger couples
Yeah.
would say,
It's so
none of my
convenient.
friends are going to send this in.
No, and
Or
it's
my
so
friends don't have.
They want to click on their cell phone.
Yeah,
to do
Well,
so.
and then also with like having everyone's email during COVID and with changes
Yes.
and blah blah blah. I mean,
Do you think COVID is the one that kind of encouraged that website to come along,
I
or
think
was
they
it
were
before? that?
yeah, no, we've had websites for a
I'll be
long
darned.
time.
I just learned something today.
Yeah,
Really.
It is,
Um,
yes.
but I think that RSVPing online has become much more popular through
Yeah.
COVID.
We do both. Everybody gets an RSVP
Sure.
card, and I have them number them. You know, so if somebody RSVPs online and sends in the card, you're not
that makes
duplicating.
sense.
Well, that's guest etiquette. That's another thing. The
Send in
RSVP
your
cards
RSVP
put
on time.
your name on it.
Oh, yeah. When you see the little
Oh.
M, then you put Mr.
Right.
So you see an M in a line, right?
Well, that's
you don't
what
know
made me
that.
start telling my couples on the back, in the corner, just put I don't care if it's in pencil, whatever,
Sure.
an itty bitty number that
Interesting.
corresponds to your Excel sheet, because they forget to put their name, and then the couple gets it and they don't know
I
if
have no
it's-
idea who it is.
They have no idea who it is. So they know you want a chicken and a beef, but
I was
they
going to
don't
say,
know who
especially
you
a
are.
problem if it's a plated.
So if you number that RSVP card, then that tells you who that person is,
That makes
and
sense.
if they RSVP online as well, you don't duplicate.
Okay, no, this isn't even on my list. But so when you're a wedding guest, you need to put your name on there. You
Uh-huh.
put your meal choice.
Correct.
Here, I love your opinion on this. If you are gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, something specialty intolerant, right?
Right.
Do you put that on there?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I put a line for dietary considerations,
That's very nice.
and then
And even if there isn't a line, I think you should put it on there. Don't
Yes.
don't the night of pull your server aside and say
I'm allergic to
vegan.
shellfish. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh,
We're having lobster mac and cheese, and I'm
because
allergic to
I
shellfish.
promise, if you like, I know that people get like, oh, embarrassed or they don't want to make a big deal out of it, but it's less of a big deal if it's just on your RSVP.
I would totally know, and I get it. Like if you're allergic to something
Yeah.
or you're intolerant of something, I get it.
Right.
But you need to know.
Okay, I've got a question. This
Okay.
is kind of off topic, but kind of not. I received, and this is a honest
True story.
I received an invitation yesterday in the mail for a wedding.
You're so popular.
Guess when the wedding is?
Tomorrow.
No, it's October 1st.
Oh, that's far.
And I thought,
When are the
That's
RSVPs
very
due?
what is this?
When does it say due by or like
It
RSVPs
didn't have an
RSVP by?
RSVP.
Because he's that important.
Was it a save the date technically?
No, it was not save the date. It was the actual invitation.
Is it
So
somebody you
what I-
know really well?
She sent them all out. It's one of my
Okay.
employees, so Polly, if you're listening, it is what it is. But I want to know how far out. I've told her 6 to 8 weeks.
Yes.
And she says, well, and I said, normally right now you would send out save the date cards. She says, well, we didn't want to spend the money on save the date
Then
cards
she
and,
should have waited on
and
you.
turn around and send out
I
an
would say
invitation
8
too.
to 10 is more normal
10
now.
is my,
Yeah, because you're gonna be getting, because back in the day, right, the etiquette was 8 weeks out, and then you get, your RSVPs are due 2 weeks out. That does not work for the wedding industry because they need to order the food, they need to order the linens, blah, blah, blah. So now it's like, 3 to 4 weeks out, you should have your RSVP
Yeah.
date. And then, therefore, you need to send
on
it
my
in 8 to
checklist
10.
that I give my couples, it's mailing at 10 weeks and RSVPs due at 4 weeks out. Well, because I literally changed that not that long ago, because even I do most of my florals through Mike, and because of flower shortages now,
Sure.
he's having to turn in his final flower orders 3 weeks out.
Right.
So if I'm gonna cut a table or add a table, a centerpiece or something, he needs to know that sooner than he used to need to know.
Well, I called her yesterday and I said, Holly, I got this invitation. I said, did you send all your invitations out? I said, I didn't call her, I texted her. And she said, oh yeah, she wanted to do it early. And I'm thinking, I'm just afraid that your guests are gonna forget.
For
That
sure.
scares me, because at my
It
house,
scares me
that would get put in
for
a
her.
pile
Oh,
somewhere
yeah.
and, yeah.
It's different if you use like Google Calendar and you go ahead and put it in there, you're going to see it if that's something you use all the time. But for others that put it on their fridge or with their stack of papers,
I think
Yeah.
some
That's
couples
many
get
months out.
antsy and they want to get them out, but there's a fine line between waiting too long and
Sure.
doing it too
Yeah.
far ahead.
Well, and I mean, that's why save the dates are so helpful, but I get if you're trying to save the money, but there's like, you can put it on social media, you
Right.
can email people, right? There's
On your website.
There's free ways to notify people of your date so that they have it on their calendar without sending your invitation.
this
out.
is so good. I know, you got more?
Yeah, she's got
Yeah,
tons
let
more.
me get my list. Okay, okay, when you are a guest at a wedding and the invitation says 5 o'clock, Sharon, what time should you arrive?
No later than 4:45.
Okay,
Or
yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
thought
put
she was
you-
gonna say 4.
So I did that.
No, that's
Here's
too
my
early.
personal story. This is high school Maggie. My stepbrother got married. It was the first wedding I'd ever been invited to. I went with my good friend Josh, who was like my buddy, but
Uh-huh.
you know, my +1. And the invitation said, I don't know what, because this was decades ago. Thank you very much. But I showed up on time, which meant
You
the
were
bride,
late.
Oh, yeah, which means the bride's walking down the aisle and I had to hold back and I was so embarrassed. It was like already awkward. It's my step family. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was already weird. So I did it wrong. And so don't be that person. And every wedding we have those people. And sure, there's car accidents or things that happen, but plan to be there at least 15 minutes earlier so that if something happens, you're not that person walking
Right.
down the
Sharon, what
aisle.
happens if somebody comes in really close to the time
Sharon,
with you?
what do you do?
So my assistant is always in the back, and I'm with the bride usually, but if we are lined up, if we're ready to walk, we hold that guest in the back until the whole bridal party's up front, and then
Because you got pictures and stuff like
Right.
that happening.
And
Okay.
then I always, my assistant made fun of me and she calls it punishment row, but I keep a row in the back that I put a reserve sign on, and right before the ceremony I pull the reserve sign, and that's where I'm gonna put anyone who comes late, because it's not punishment.
Naughty row.
It's not punishment, but if you have a videographer, I listened to a video of one of my weddings, and this is how I learned that I don't want to ever do this again. You could hear people going, "Excuse me, pardon me, can I scoot in? Excuse me, pardon me."
Oh, wow.
So the audio picked that up. So what I do now is just,
You
know,
escort them.
we're really glad you're here. Here's a seat for you right here. So
A
that
little
they're
stack
not.
of programs in there. So that-
Yeah, so that they're not like trying to scoot in, you know, in one of the first 4 or 5 rows
Right.
and making a commotion right when the ceremony starts.
And some places only have one entrance.
Mhm.
You know, so where you're going in is where people, where the wedding party and couple
Oh,
are
it's
lined
right.
up, or I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I
at a
should say
church.
lined.
It's
I
right
also
there.
always ask my couples, you know, how strongly I feel very strongly that we are going to start on time.
Mhm.
Because it messes up as you can, I'm always early.
Domino.
They make fun of me because I'm early for everything.
I am
But
always late in my personal life, but not in my
not at
professional
a wedding.
life. Yeah.
So I feel very strongly that we're going to start on time. But one of the questions on my month out meeting sheet is, you know, if it appears that guests are still coming in, are you okay with starting 10 minutes later?
You give the couple the decision.
And honestly, most of them say no.
Mhm.
Well, I
they're
think
not.
that's going back to what we're talking
Yeah.
about. I mean, I think it's very important to start on time, no matter what.
But
So
some,
now
I've
if
had
you
some guests
Because
say,
there
no, let
are
them
some of
come
your
in.
guests that are there that are on time.
Oh, they've been there for a half
and
hour.
we don't want
yeah.
to sit there and wait 10 or
Now,
15 minutes.
Sharon, I'm assuming you would feel differently, like if you found out that there was a major construction going on
Oh,
and it is
absolutely.
delaying people.
There's an
Look,
exception to
Or
every
there's
law.
I've gotten text messages before,
road closed.
there's a car accident and I'm
Yeah.
stuck or whatever. So I figure you're not the only person stuck.
Right.
So we'll gauge it. And brides almost always, and I think Maggie would attest to this too, go, how many people are here?
Does it look full?
Does it look full? Is
Does
there
it
a
look
lot of
full?
people?
Did people show up?
So, if I
Yes,
say,
everyone's so excited.
at that
That's right.
time, I might say, we've got a few coming in, I'm gonna hold you about 5 minutes. But that'll be about as long as I'm gonna push it.
Because it affects everything else.
Yeah, it's
It
not-
You've
affects
got
the
a
whole
timeline.
rest of the night.
Yes,
Totally.
you got other
It
people
affects,
involved
and
in it.
especially if you're at a church, because a church usually gives you 1 hour after your ceremony for your pictures. So if I take 15 minutes of that waiting on late guests, now you're down to 45 minutes to get all
Yeah,
your
because they might have
pictures.
service that night. So
Sure.
They don't have
Yeah.
that flexibility.
Yeah.
Well, and also the guests that come in late and they get held back in the back or wait till after the wedding's already processed up there, don't get pissy about it. Because they don't want you coming in the door
Right.
as she's coming down the aisle getting pictures taken.
I've never had anybody get mad.
I've
really
seen a
haven't.
few.
It's not your event. It
Yeah.
is the couple's
Be
day.
respectful.
But I do reserve seats for them.
Naughty row.
Hey,
I
that
might
makes-
start doing
that
the
makes
naughty
them
row.
special.
Yeah.
Some people might think it's a special.
Everybody's
Ooh,
gonna
look,
start
I got a
coming
seat
to
right
your
here.
weddings.
Okay, guys, I've got 2 more on my list
Okay.
that are
Bring it.
funny but true. So the first one that I have is, if you're gonna bitch, don't go.
I
Amen.
love it.
Did everyone hear what she said? 'Cause
Repeat
she said
that.
it kind of quietly.
Repeat that.
If you're gonna bitch, don't go.
Thank you, sweet
Is-
baby Jesus.
Meaning, if you're gonna bitch and
Critique
jibber jabber
and
and
judge.
critique and to so
Why
and
they do that?
so
Why
for
they do
months and months before the wedding, then maybe that's a good clue to you that you don't really want to be there, or your intention is not to bring joy on
Right.
that day, and therefore it's okay, don't go. Just don't. I mean, it's totally okay, and couples be okay. If someone says no, let's all respect that. Don't
There
go.
might- there's probably a
100%
reason.
There's
agree.
probably a
You
reason.
know, I always have this little talk with my brides right before they walk. Because I feel like they rush through the day, and when I first started, brides would go, I don't even remember walking.
Right.
So I always have like a little, just she and I, or he and I, whoever, in their ear, and I say, I want you to really take this moment in. I want you to look out in that room. There's a room full of people that love you and support you and wish the best for you, and you're never going to have this again. Like, I'm 53 years old, I've never had that any other time in my life. Because I want them to take it in.
Yeah.
But I want that statement to be true.
Yeah.
I don't want her to look out there and be going, oh, I know she doesn't really, think I'm doing a good, she doesn't want to be here. Or that I don't want that for them. They deserve so much better. So I agree with you 100%. And if you're going to critique everything, why do we only have chicken, or why? Stay home and order yourself some KFC.
Yeah.
I don't care.
DoorDash.
Yeah.
McDonald's.
I'm just gonna leave that there. Support local if you can, if you're
Yeah.
gonna stay home.
Yeah.
Well, I
There you
mean,
go.
you would be shocked what we hear at weddings. Why
Yeah.
they do this or why they do
Oh.
that.
Mhm.
They did it because they damn well want to do it, and it's their wedding.
And at your wedding.
And that's what that is literally what I want to say.
I feel like we need to move over
Oh,
someplace.
it makes me so mad.
Do you need an air fill?
Breathe.
No.
I think
She is very
But I-
passionate about it. Can
well,
you hear?
passionate, but also like protective over our couples.
Yes.
I think when we work, like I can hear it in your voice, and I feel the same
Yeah.
thing. And we call it the mama bear effect.
For
At
sure.
Weekend Wedding Warrior, we're always like, I feel like a mama bear over this
Yeah,
bride.
do not
We
mess
feel
with her.
protective over them.
Yeah.
I was thinking that earlier about Sharon when you said something about rogue. I was like, well, Sharon won't have no problem with that place, I assure you. But it is like you are wanting the best. You know how hard when
Because
you
you've
work
been with
people.
them throughout all that process, and the naysayers have not.
Right.
Yes, and so it's like you want them to have the best possible
Like I
day.
remember being at that meeting when we looked at our budget and we wanted to have the best chicken we could give for our budget. So don't sit there. How disrespectful. Like, I don't know, it just really just,
I love you, Sharon.
I love you too.
She makes animal noises.
Sure.
Well, and I've even heard like close family members couples do it.
Oh, sure.
You know, and
But you
If
know
you
what?
don't
That's
wanna-
human. That's
Or
just,
it is. We all compare. It's like a very, and like even on the opposite end, right? Like what I'm hearing you say is it's almost like a snooty, like, oh, they only had blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But you also have the opposite where it's like, wow, that hotel is too expensive, or the hotel room block, or, oh, we have to wear
Right.
this. I have to go get a new outfit.
Right.
I have to spend this money.
don't
if
go.
if it's gonna, and not in an embarrassing way. If this is a hardship for you and
Right.
your family, again, just
stay home.
respectfully decline.
And I think
okay.
that's one of the biggest things that maybe people haven't heard. It's okay to say no.
Yes.
It's okay. If you don't want to go, don't.
Well, and
There's a lot put into these events, not just money, time, energy, effort, vendors. We could list all this. And to say, if you don't genuinely want to be there and celebrate with that couple, don't.
I love what Maggie's saying too about seeing the other side of it, because I think what we see and what's in our face every weekend is the guest who gripes about the wedding. But you do have a really good point that we ask a lot of guests too, and we can't judge them for their decisions either. I love that you make that point, because it's a
No.
whole other way to think about it.
Well, it's such a big
Exactly.
financial
Yeah.
commitment, and you know, the meeting I just came from, we were talking about how at least the weddings that I'm doing, the norm is you're staying in a hotel,
Yep.
you have a rehearsal dinner, you have a welcome party, so you have an outfit for that and a
Mhm.
dress code for that. You have the wedding day, you've got an outfit for that, a dress
Rehearsal
code for
dinner,
that.
yeah.
You've got the brunch the next day. There's like
It's no
not
longer just
it's not
one
just
event.
one
Yeah.
5-hour event. It's a weekend,
I also
and that's a
think-
financial commitment.
I think that applies
For everyone.
too to asking someone to be in your bridal party.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think there should be a conversation. You know, hey, I've looked at dresses. This is about what your dress is going to cost. This is what your shoes are going to cost. This total is about what it's going to cost you to be in my wedding. And I love you and I want you to be here, but I also will love you just as much if you have to say no.
And that is key. I think that
Yeah.
is so key.
And the same for guys with suits. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they need to know exactly what they're going to be
Well,
doing.
you know, there's bachelor weekends, bachelorette weekends. There's
It's
the
become a
shower.
whole-
There's the luncheon. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying it in a negative way. It's amazing that people have the resources to do that,
And that they want to
and
celebrate.
that they want to
yeah.
continue to celebrate. But that's not necessarily.
And I'm telling you, these
everyone's-
bachelor and bachelorette
No.
parties,
Yeah.
it's no longer just going out with all your friends
To a
one
bar.
night. No, it's
Oh.
like a
You're on
thing.
a trip.
I planned a destination one. There was 7 women who came in from DC.
I saw that on your Instagram.
Yes, and
it
we
was
planned
so
the
cool.
whole. We did the
Yeah.
Airbnb. They had a full schedule. We had an itinerary. I mean, this was like a $10,000 weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the
Yeah.
best time.
So I
was
love
like,
that you bring up seeing the other side, because it's really true.
We have covered so much, but I really thought we were gonna. Well, there's another one.
I think
Awesome.
Her
Yes.
eyes are lighting up.
got one more.
Okay, well, but I think what I didn't realize is how much education this can also provide to the couple.
Sure.
Not just, even though this is guest etiquette, this is really for all of it. All right,
Well,
got another
guests,
one.
Guests and couples it's a two-sided coin, right?
Mhm.
Like, so the last one I have, which sounds kind of ridiculous, and talk about the mama bear, but I'm really serious. I want guests to have a drinking plan for themselves
Yes,
beforehand.
Lord.
Because, you know, as I get older, it's very rare that I'm going to open bars, right? Like that's like not, and then it's like, especially post-COVID, you're like, let's celebrate, we're out,
Woohoo!
like life is back again, you know, whatever. Like, you gotta meter yourself, people, and you gotta have a plan for, okay, how many do I have during cocktail hour? What am I drinking? Am I drinking the same thing? Am I mixing? Because we've got some pukers at the end of the night, and you don't wanna be the puker. Like, you don't wanna be the person at the fancy wedding with like vomit on the linen.
Sharon is just waiting to open her mouth and spew, not vomit.
Oh, God.
But she has stuff to add to this, Mike. I've got a feeling, don't you?
I mean, what I want to add is that I 100% agree.
Thanks, Sharon.
You don't want.
You're there to celebrate people getting married. Sorry, Sharon.
Well, I don't think anyone's intending on puking,
No,
right?
no.
So that's what I'm saying is like get a plan, like know to yourself, this is probably going to be an open bar. I'm probably gonna get excited and want to
Well,
partake.
And one of the
what's
things
my
that
limit
I'm
here?
pretty passionate about is my couples pay me for a service. And I take that very seriously, as I know you do. I feel it's a huge responsibility. And when I have to deal with the puker out in the hall,
Sure.
you're taking me away from that couple that paid me, that deserves my time and attention. You know, when I'm spending time getting an Uber for that person and making sure that they're safe, and Can I even safely put them in an Uber? Or I've even had people that I was afraid to send out alone.
Well, some Uber drivers aren't going to take you if you're
Correct.
Like that,
So, I just really feel like if you have a plan and a plan to get home.
Yes, a plan to get home is another
Because
thing.
I have had people too intoxicated to order their own Uber.
Right.
Like they hand me
And
their
remember
phone.
that it's not the bride and groom's responsibility to get you home.
Correct.
Well,
Or to
and-
babysit.
Or to babysit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, don't take away from attention
Right.
and time that should be spent on them
Right.
for someone to deal with you.
Yes.
And Sharon, I think we're talking about this guest, family, parents, wedding party. Like this topic that you're all talking about is
Sure.
across the board. You're right though. Coming out of a pandemic, hopefully we can say that the right way, I guess. That's how I'm saying it. Maybe people haven't been out as much, or you're just happy to be around family and friends and having a good time. Just think about that, or maybe you need to plan to stay somewhere. You know, if that's something that you're going to make a night of it.
Mm-hmm.
And just think that
Are we
night
saying
is,
just think? Like you really should just think.
yeah, just think that night is about the couple, not you,
Right.
making an ass of
Oh
yourself.
my god.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't think people intend to do that. I hope to God no one's intending to do that. But like when you're at a cocktail hour, you may or may not get a shrimp that floats by that you can grab, right? Like you're not getting a stomach full. But
Right.
You're getting a full bar for an hour and a half. Like that's.
I've seen
I mean,
people
the whole day.
double fisted at events
Yeah.
with an open bar
I better
that
not see a bartender do that.
may have a
Yeah.
splash of water, Sprite, or something in
yeah.
it, and we're talking just barely into an event. And like you're saying, no,
You're never gonna make
they
it.
haven't went to the charcuterie board
Yeah,
or anything
yeah.
that's there at the cocktail. They went straight to the bar.
I'm
and-
anxious to get Maggie's opinion on this because I've never asked you, but I know one of the things I have quit doing is I will not allow last call to be announced.
Oh yeah.
I just quietly close the bar
Yeah.
because what I figured out was I've got 200 people in here that have been drinking for 3-4 hours,
Yeah.
and now I'm saying, okay, guys, you've got 15 minutes to get you one more.
Right.
before you leave.
And they
Before I
they
could-
bum rush.
Yes.
Yeah. No. So I have a different opinion. I mean, I also do not announce that
Right,
spell,
I do not
but it's
like
because I'm a snob and I think it's tacky.
Well, and
So
that.
that's why.
And that.
So,
My
but-
parents used to own a tavern, and I
Oh,
can
yeah.
still see our big old bartender. They own a
Yeah.
tavern in Scottsburg, Indiana. I can still see our big old bartender going, "Last call," and I totally get it. It's a lie. Yeah.
That's a really good point. I guess I hadn't thought of it, and I bartended back in the day, and you are rushed. I mean, everybody wants a last drink,
Mhm.
and to open bar, they're getting ready to get in their cars. Really good point.
I agree with you. I think it's tacky.
Yeah. And then I always try to make sure that the bartender or the catering staff puts waters out, water bottles, a refill thing of water. So it's like if someone comes up and they're bummed, here's a water.
That's another reason I love late night snack too,
Mhm.
because you're putting some food in their belly before.
Waffles and donuts, and
Mhm.
sucking
I had a bride that
alcohol.
had a Waffle House catering
Mm.
come at 10 o'clock, and we did like waffle bar and hash brown bar. That's
Oh,
been my favorite late
hungry.
night snack so far. But I mean, I've done all kinds
I
of
can't
things.
tell you how many times I've gone to White Castle late
Yeah.
at night.
And Taco Bell.
Oh my god. My
Oh
whole
my
car,
goodness!
my
So
car
on
smells.
Yeah.
on this non-food episode, we've said KFC,
Sorry.
McDonald's, Taco Bell,
Waffle
Waffle
House.
House.
White Castle.
Did we miss White Castle? Okay. Woo! 5 of them. I mean,
Support local.
support
No
local.
one's open that late though. No local place.
Goodness gracious. And if you find one, you can always let us
Let's
know.
Yeah, we'd love to know.
This has been great.
It's been
It
so
has,
good.
it's been really good.
I feel like
Maggie, you're amazing.
Oh well, thanks guys. I'm
Thank you
just
so
glad
much for
to help.
coming.
It's fun to talk to you.
And I think this is a topic, as I said when we first started this is, I don't know if people steer clear of this topic or it's just not discussed enough, but I think it's important.
Yeah, I do too.
All this stuff you talked about plays a big role in the day.
I think everything we talked about it's the phone calls wedding planners get from brides and grooms, and they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
So
One note that I will say before we close this out, Sharon, I've heard you mention before, Maggie, I'm sure you've come across this, how many things happen, some of which have to do with some of the things we've mentioned here, a couple never even knew happened
Oh,
at their events.
that's the idea. That's the point of us.
That's the way it
And-
should be.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what you strive for, is to take care of that
Yeah.
stuff without the
what's
couple
that
even
TikTok going around now? My darling, that's what I do.
Oh, I hear, Mike, I heard somebody wants to do a TikTok.
Yeah,
Did you hear
right.
that? Okay.
We'll see that tomorrow.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I always tell
That's our
people
job.
that if they ask me on the day of how everything's going, I'll be like, it's
Beautiful.
so perfect and everyone's having the best time, and that's generally very true.
Yes.
But if you want to have coffee in 2 weeks, I'll tell you what
And
window.
isn't it funny how many of them do? I've had brides even like from their
Tell me the scoop.
from
Like,
their honeymoon. They're like, okay, so tell me what really happened. Yeah.
all right, we could go on and on and on. Maggie, thank you so much for coming in and being a guest and about this topic.
We appreciate you so much.
Yes,
You're
thank
amazing.
you. Okay, so for all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in. We love to hear your feedback, so you can shoot us a message on social media or always go to the website and hit the contact button. And if you like these topics that we talk about or you like just hearing us, Sharon, go ahead.
Make sure you stop and leave us a glowing 5-star review.
Mike, one of these days she'll let you say it.
That's all right. She does it so well.
Okay, Maggie, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, until next time, everyone, stay safe.
God, that was good.